All right, guys. This time we are recapping the Vegas Golden Knights have eliminated the Edmonton McOilers. Now, that is one hell of a way to go out for arguably the two best players in the world. But it just shows you a superstar team will beat a team of superstars any day of the week. Um, and that's no hate to McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. I think they're brilliant players. I just think that organization lets them down a little bit in the sense that it is a lot dependent on those two players. And when they don't do everything, things like this happen. Interesting series. It was sort of a we'll win one, you win one, we'll win one, you win one for a bit there, with game one going to Vegas, game two going to Edmonton, and then three Vegas, four Edmonton, five Vegas. Edmonton looked like they were going to keep that trend going after they went down 1-0 in the first 20 seconds, but they made it 1-1 30 seconds later, and then made it 2-1 only a couple minutes after that. So they had a 2-1 lead on their first two shots of the game. And yeah, for a bit there, it was looking like, okay, we might see a similar trend. This goes to game seven. But Vegas just overall just too strong. They did what we have been saying in a lot of the lead ups videos to these Oilers, is stay out of the box, and that's your first step to beating this Oilers team. If you can stay out of the box, you're taking away a large chunk of the Oilers scoring straight off the bat. They're still a very dangerous and potent team, but you take away that power play of theirs, and they become a lot less potent. So yeah, overall, I thought Vegas they just got a lot of solid play up and down the lines, and that was the ultimately the difference between these two teams. Vegas can depend on just about every line they put out there, whereas in the Oilers not so much. The Oilers' defense is, honestly, in my opinion, one of the worst in the league. Um, I think Skinner didn't have the greatest series, but at the end of the day, he doesn't have anything in front of him helping him out. He did look ordinary, and I'm very, very surprised that they didn't put Jack Campbell in. And I think that's one of the reasons why they lost this series, is because they didn't make that call. But overall, when you've got a defense in front of you like the Oilers' defense, you're gonna have a tough time as a goaltender. But in that saying that, Vegas Golden Knights, good from top line down to the bottom line. They got a fantastic performance from Aiden Hill when he stepped in when required. 0.934 save percentage. Jack Eichel, he may have gone second overall behind Connor McDavid in the draft, but in their first meeting in the playoffs, he takes the win. And at the end of the day, I think he'd rather a playoff series win than going first overall. But yeah, that's my short opinion on this series so far. I'll hand you off to Jaden to give a bit of his opinion and read out some stats for you.
Yeah. Interesting series. It was kind of one of those series that one team would show up playing amazing, the other one would be ordinary, if not just didn't show up. But then the next game they would just switch roles, and the next game they would switch roles. And it wasn't until just Vegas got a little bit of momentum and just started playing the game that they finally won games back to back. It was a team that stayed out of the box during the playoffs, the best in the league at doing it, and then they did it during the regular season, now during the playoffs, and that's why they were able to basically beat the Oilers. You stay out the box, you don't get the power play any chance, and then they can't score really because they struggle on 5-on-5. And even though Leon Draisaitl has 13 goals, McDavid has 20 points. even McDavid having 20 points, I still don't think he did enough in this playoff series, especially for that contract. One of the games he was basically a no-show, and that's just not good enough. Whereas Leon Draisaitl, every game he was just there. He honestly best player of the playoffs. In my opinion, was Leon Draisaitl. So it was a bit unfortunate for him to be kicked out. But yeah, he really put his heart out there every shift, every game. Eichel on the Vegas side having an amazing playoffs, his first playoffs. Coming up, the man who took his number one spot, and he kicks him out. So it's a little interesting story there for Eichel. Good little story for Aiden Hill as well, stepping in. Looked shaky, conceding on two goals and two shots in the last game, but then just rebounded and just kept everything else out. The next 30 odd shots, and that's a good mentality from a goaltender to do that, because it could have gone really sour really quickly for him. Um, I think Oilers, obviously they lose this because of, like you said, probably one of the worst defenses in the league. They've got Nurse on a $9 million contract. They got Bouchard, who has been, I don't know if even ordinary is a good word to describe it. I'd say extremely poor, um, to say the least. And yeah, like the defense, like you can only do so much. You've got one line that's a power play line. There's nothing else. There's no depth. Like Yamamoto doesn't score. All these other people don't score. Like it really is just waiting for them to bail out and see when Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid cannot pull this team enough. Um, like you did say in regards to Jack Campbell and Skinner, I think this was a coaching failure. I think it's been a big coaching failure in general with some of the structure they play as well. But definitely playing Skinner over Campbell does not make sense to me. Um, I think for Jay Woodcroft, I think that honestly, I would, if I was in charge of the Oilers, I would be firing him just based on that alone. You can see from the New Jersey side, the Canes side, other team side, like when the goalie wasn't doing it, they played the second, and that player then they just played the hot hand, and that's why they won games and they won those series. And that's why I think they lose this series, is because they just refuse to play Campbell. And what's the point of having Campbell if you're going to refuse to play him, really? Um, so yeah, I guess that's just my little take on that one, though.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you on that front. I think they really let themselves down with that call. Um, Skinner, I get it, was really good in the home and away season. Campbell was questionable from time to time, but I got giving Skinner the go ahead at the start of the playoffs because he had earned that right. Um, like you said about New Jersey, similar with Vanacek, right? He had earned that right to be the Devils' starting goalie. He failed. They moved on. That is what Edmonton sort of needed to do. Yep, okay, as I said, the defense in front of him was absolutely trash. So it's like, okay, well, guys, you need to do more. So we'll give him a couple of extra shots, maybe. But I think there was the game against the Kings where they were down 3-0, and Skinner gets kicked out. Campbell comes in, and he's just lights out. He is lights out. He concedes one goal where the defense was just leaving him high and dry. He If that was Skinner, I reckon they lose that game 8-3 because he would have just let them through left, right, and center because they were walking through the Edmonton defense. He shut up shop. He gave them a chance. Evander Kane puts the goal in the back of the net, levels the series, levels the game, takes it to overtime. They win it in OT. That is what sparked their comeback and ultimately their series win in six. Because they would have gone 3-1 down in the series, I think, off that. But it was just after that, they went back to Skinner and he continued to leak. And then it comes to this series and it was the same story. He continues to leak. They continue continue to go to him. They like Campbell alleviated him in net a few times, and every time he did, he looked good. But they would not start him. And I was shocked. Like, what has he done wrong that you don't even give him a game to prove that he can be the man to take you forward? And yeah, I think ultimately that's one of the areas that they've lost this. I think ultimately Edmonton need to improve their defense and their depth forward, because that's what they lacked in this series against Vegas. Vegas are just complete from line one to line four. Offense, defense. They're probably lacking just in that goaltending, but they got enough from Aiden Hill. But yeah, it's just ugly. Ugly from Edmonton on many fronts. I don't know how they can get out of it next year because they're in cap trouble. They've got about $6 million to sign six forwards and Evan Bouchard. That is going to be one hell of a nightmare. Good luck, Edmonton and Edmonton fans. Don't know how you're going to get out of that. But Vegas, congratulations. Well done. Well earned victory, well earned series. And ultimately, you're off to the Western Conference Finals, which, if you make the Stanley Cup final, you've played extremely well this season and it would be well deserved.
Mm. No, definitely well deserved from Vegas there, and well deserved from Eichel. First playoffs, and he hasn't shown any hips at all. Same with Marcia. So, just all these players just playing solid. Petr- Petrangelo playing solid as well. Obviously, doing that big slash on Draisaitl. Only getting a game for it. Explain that to me, but you get away with it. You get away with it, I guess. Obviously you had a few cheap shots from Kane and whatnot, but yeah, it's just it's really more of a story just on Oilers. Really, it's just because of just the players they've got there in Draisaitl and McDavid, and I, c- I would be surprised, and honestly, if they keep Woodcroft, I'd be surprised by that because I just don't know how you can do that after that horrible decision. That's not a Stanley Cup contender, winning coach decision to not play Campbell there. Um, and honestly, with some of the system I've seen with the defensive, I know some of the players haven't been great, and he's dealing with what he's been given, but also the system just doesn't look great at most times. So yeah, like for me, I know he had a great run, like 14-0-1 going into the playoffs and all that. But for me, that Skinner Campbell situation, I think you lose your job on that. I think that's too huge of a blunder. And if he stays next season, I think this will just be a repeat. Like I said, they're in cap trouble. How they get out of it, they probably don't. And Vegas, they come up against a strong Dallas team. Probably going to go to Game 7 in that series because they're just two very high competing teams. Dallas have a good power play, but Vegas, they have good ability to stay out of the box, and that will be the key. And that was the key here. It might be the key going forward and getting them to the cup. Obviously, they've got to work on that power play. 17.5%, not good enough. Penalty kill, 60%, obviously hampered a bit because of the Oilers being Oilers. And yeah, they score a lot of goals. You would just like to see them hamper down on that, conceding just a little bit for the Vegas side.
One thing I will point out is my round two series predictions. Uh, all four teams correctly selected, and two of them perfect series selections. So I did all right this round two. Watch me fail come the third round and completely just botched my choices. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. I've had a good round this round, so the two teams I predict for the next round, they will definitely lose. So I'm sorry
I
if
think you,
you're a fan of the
I
teams I
think you picked
choose.
my pick, so that better not be the case. I think we picked the same
Shit.
teams for the next round, but yeah, no, you did very good. Picking these ones. Oh, I'm just very disappointed in the Oilers overall. Honestly, I just think bad coaching as well. not just on the ice, but also the coaching. So yeah, a lot to work on for the Oilers, a lot to fix. Vegas go on, and you got to ride the hot goaltender at the moment in Hill. He looked good. Hopefully, he can stay that way for him, and that's what you'd be crossing your fingers for. But if you got nothing
Yeah, for
else, I guess we
sure.
can end it there.
Yeah, no, that's it from me, guys. Congratulations, Vegas. Commiserations, Edmonton.
Yeah, no more
Better
Canadian
luck
teams in the
next year.
playoffs, and since Bettman been in, it seems to be the way. Alrighty, yeah, we'll leave it there. Leave a comment below what you thought of the series, what Oilers do to get out of this situation in regards to cap, and then get better. What your thoughts on Vegas if they do trump Dallas and go to the Cup final? Do they even take the Cup themselves? And can their goaltending stand up? Leave a comment below with that. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NHL content going forward. But till the next video, we'll catch you guys.
Okay, guys.